Hello and welcome to this webinar. Unfortunately, you're receiving this as a recording because unfortunately we had a fire alarm a few minutes earlier. So those who joined at 1400 on the 3rd of July, this is a recording and we apologize once again for the fire alarm that we had to attend to. So here we are back presenting the version 6.5 of Rohde & Web Application Firewall. Here is the agenda for today's webinar. We will go through the product strategy of Rohde & Cybersecurity and give you an overview of the entire portfolio. Then we'll focus more specifically on the web application firewall and its market, including the market trends that we're currently seeing. And we'll go straight into the new version 6.5 to focus on the new features, including monitoring, managing false positives, and API security. And then Francois will give you a live demo of the product, and unfortunately the Q&A session will not exist. So if you do have any questions, please do send them to us by email and we'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. So today's presenters are myself, Vera Deshovny, the Product Marketing Manager for Rohde & Cybersecurity, Application and Cloud Portfolio, and Francois Vinel, a Technical Account Manager. So let's go straight into the product strategy and overview. So you may have known us previously as Denial. So welcome now to Rohde & Cybersecurity, because in 2007, Denial was acquired by Rohde & Cybersecurity, a leading German cybersecurity company. And since the acquisition, it has been rebranded. So we now operate under the colors of Rohde & Cybersecurity. And so we can truly consider ourselves a European security company. So let me quickly share with you our corporate vision. Rohde & Cybersecurity has a broad range of security products, but we decided to rationalize their portfolio to focus on selected products in two key target groups. You have on the left illustrated here the regulated market, and on the right, large and medium enterprise markets. So under the regulated market, which mainly focuses on network encryption, desktop and mobile security, and the enterprise market has the application security portfolio as its keystone, cornerstone, and data encryption. You will see that in the middle you have data-centric security diamond. This is a core the core product which is shared between the two markets and focuses on protecting data that transits different applications, as well as the network and complementary to desktop and mobile security. So this is a common denominator for both markets, and soon you will see an announcement for it to be launched in the international market. So let's look at our solutions more in detail. So you have 4 product families: network security, mobile security, and desktop security. These are the 3 product families which correspond to the high security market. And they contain both product and tailor-made solutions for critical infrastructures, government, and defense. They meet the requirements for classified communications, both at domestic and EU and also international security levels such as NATO. And then you have application and cloud security. This is our main focus for international markets, domestic markets, and all within the enterprise sector across different industries. So let's have a deep dive in the application and cloud security portfolio. Our solutions for applications and cloud security ensure reliable digital business processes. They serve business to undergo digital transformation and also help companies to comply with the latest legal requirements. You have the GDPR, General Data Protection Regulation, and PSD2, the EU Second Payment Services Directive, where securing APIs and websites for banks and payment providers is becoming essential. So a huge focus on regulatory compliance. So starting from the top right corner, you have the start of today's webinar, so our traditional WAF or appliance-based VM WAF, which secures APIs, web applications, and web services. Moving down to bottom right corner, you have the cloud native counterpart of WAF, or we call it Cloud Protector, is the product name. And it's a WAF which effectively protects web applications from most cyber attacks and can be used by any business of any size due to its ease of configuration and management. And then bottom left, you have the Vulnerability Manager. This is a product which gives a comprehensive view of all IT vulnerabilities. It scans your entire IT infrastructure from network devices, servers, and OS, and also applications. And it produces concise reports of management and actionable reports for operational teams to act on. While the integration of the Vulnerability Manager with the WAF can provide you a complete security, a very comprehensive and complete security solution, because it provides virtual patching of application layer vulnerabilities while the exploits are being worked on by the operational teams. And then top left, you have the Rodenschwarz Trusted Gate product. This is the new product which is being added to the portfolio, and it's already launched in the domestic market in the DACH region, and it's already gathering huge amounts of momentum there, and it's about to be launched in international markets. Rodenschwarz Trusted Gate protects corporate data in the cloud by seamlessly encrypting and decrypting documents within corporate applications. It supports major applications such as Microsoft SharePoint and Office 365. Over to the web application firewall now, and let's have a look at the market trends. So first of all, what we're seeing is customers want an easy-to-manage solution because they no longer have the right resources to administer the product. This is becoming extremely intense, and a lot of customers are really asking for simplicity as the number one product attribute. Secondly, security-sensitive customers have more complex use cases and higher security requirements. They want products to be able to adapt to their specific needs. And finally, we're seeing a growing interest for DevOps approaches and tools to bridge practices of development and infrastructure departments. The DevOps cycle aims at shorter development cycles, increased deployment, and usually utilizes the agile methodology, and it therefore has more dependency on fast releases, fully aligned with the security and built in to the development cycle. So it also calls out for automation and security in order to deliver reliable software. So our Rodenschwarz Web Application Firewall, latest release 6.5, specifically delivers on these expectations. So for administrating DevOps teams, it has the usability and security, also better protection, faster response time, deployment automation, and optimization of administration. It also uses unique workflow technology from Rodenschwarz Web Application Firewall to meet specific customer requirements while providing a competitive and highly robust security solution. So to sum up, our product delivers on all the requirements that we're seeing in the market. So here are the highlights of our product. So first of all, Rodenschwarz Web Application Firewall is a European WAF pioneer. It was one of the first WAFs in the market, first in France, then in Europe, and now being sold worldwide. We have more than a decade of application security expertise behind us. We're protecting over 60,000 applications for more than 600 customers in 30 countries worldwide in all industry sectors. We're recognized by a number of leading and independent analysts, including Gartner in its Magic Quadrant for WAF and Forrester in the Wave. Our R&D and support teams are all based in Europe. Our product is award-winning, and the latest is the European Business Award, National Awards that we obtained in the digital category. And it's also qualified and certified by French authorities. The French National Agency for Information Security has qualified and granted our WAF product the top-level security certification. We also received France Cybersecurity label by the French government, which proves the quality and performance of our product. So just a quick overview before I hand over to Francois of what the 6.5 brings as innovation. So this new version is called the LTS version, long-term support. It is the culminating point in the product lifecycle, and it combines 4 years of innovation to meet the requirements of the most demanding enterprise customers with very specific needs. LTS is a special version which brings together features from previous releases. The release 6.5 is a stable version intended for use in production environments. Over 90% of all our customer base use LTS versions to reduce the risk, expense, and disruption of software deployment. So WAF 6.5 also extends the period of software maintenance to at least 3 years from now. And also all customers on previous versions will be able to migrate to this single platform, which brings with it key benefits of better usability, higher security, and lower total cost of ownership. So now I hand over to Francois, who will walk you through the features and the technology behind the 6.5 release.
Okay, so thank you, Vera. So now let's focus on some of the new features we have in our brand new 6.5 release. So first of all, let's have a look at this diagram. As you can see, maybe some of yours might know us as from our previous technologies, such as AirWeb or eSuite. So as you can see here, we've been working since several years on a common platform that you can see in the middle, which is called RS Web Application Firewall 6.5. And the main idea was to offer the best of both worlds, as you can see at the top. Okay, so now a few features that we have, as you can see here. From a security perspective, you can see that we have new security engines. So for example, we have ICX, we have also blacklist, scoring list, normalization. We have specific advanced engines. So as you can see, related to injection, SQL injection, path traversal, cross-site scripting. And you can use all these engines and you can use them in the same time. Next, we have what we call user reputation. So this is a very interesting feature because basically you will be able to track a user not only based on a single attack, but more like based on the global behavior on your web application. So just to give you an example, let's say you have a user which is connected to your application. You can start with a specific score, and you will use the score that will increase or decrease according to specific actions. So let's say you have a bad action, like such as, for example, cross-site scripting. You can choose to decrease the score. This is also available with benefit actions. So for example, you can log in on a specific admin page. You can just try to increase the score. So according to this score, you will be able to use specific actions, such as sending a blocking page, for example. And when the score gets low, you can choose, for example, to send a specific CAPTCHA that the user will need to solve. You can also, when the score is really, really low, for example, you can also try to blacklist the customer, the client. You can blacklist for 60 seconds or whatever you choose. So you can do this with a workflow, and it's very granular. So this is a very interesting feature. You have also IP reputation, where you will track the public source IP. And according to several feeds, you will be able to use this information as a contextual information. And you will be able to block or apply any action based on this IP. So maybe it's an IP which is known for scanning over the internet. Maybe it's known as a Tor endpoint. So you can use this information to tweak your security policy. Then you have also everything related to web services. So web services security, nowadays we can see that we have a lot of APIs, so you can apply security on these web services as well. So for example, you have on the right, you can also handle specific objects like JSON objects or like XML objects as well. You can do whitelisting with a sitemap, for example. You can import Swagger files, which will describe your application. So we will be able to see this in the live demo at the end. On the networking part, we are also doing improvements. So we now support HTTP2, VLAN tagging, as you can see, and also from an infrastructure perspective, we can also implement high availability in active-active mode. And we have also a specific mode which is called pooling mode. From the administration perspective, you can see that we now have multi-admin regarding administration. We have also a brand new security logs view that we will see later during the demo. You can now use exception profiles that will be related to every engine. You have a specific replay features where you will be able to check if your exception is properly configured. You can use a specific API or orchestration API if you're like a DevSecOps environment, for example. And we have also new dashboards, so we will see that during the live demo. Regarding the monitoring part, you can see that we have a brand new analytics platform that you can see here with several default dashboards that you can find. So here you have an example. You can do specific visualization. So for example, if you want to do performance tracking, you can have three-stage dashboards, as you can see. Okay. Of course, if you want to create a new one, you can do it as well. So as you can see here, you just have to click on Add a new dashboard. Then you can select the appropriate views that you want to monitor. In your dashboard, you can then adjust the display. When everything is good, you can save the results, and then you can create a scheduled task in order to receive the reports on a specific frequency, for example, by mail. That was the monitoring part. Now, managing false positives. So here is the new view that we have for logs. As you can see here, we have an example of an attack, and you can see in red the part of the request which matches exactly the attack. Okay, so if we look then, you can see here that you can just have a lot of details about the attack itself. And on the left, you have all the security engines triggered on this specific attack. So if you click on the right, you can just click on Resolve Events. So you can create a custom resolve or an automatic one. And once you did this, you have a specific line which is added to your security exception configuration. You can also resolve in a single time multi-events. So let's say you have a SQL injection, for example, which is matching several engines. You can do a resolve on both engines. Another mechanism is the replay mechanism. So basically, when you created a new false positive exception, you can try to replay it to see if the configuration is a good one. So basically on the right here, you can see that exception is in green. So this shows that your configuration is good. Now, talking about API security. So you can do a lot of things, such as things related to XML or JSON. So you can see here that you are able to handle objects. For example, you can modify, you can set a few specific information in your web service. You can do encryption and decryption as well. You can do signing of the signing validation, as you can see, and you can also do SIM validation. Okay, so this is the same thing for JSON to table, which will allow you to pass the information and to inject all the information in the security engines, and you can handle objects as well. So last point is the blacklist or whitelist security that we will see during the live demo. We have a specific object here that we call a sitemap, which will allow to check to do SIM validation. So you can, in this sitemap, define all the paths that will be allowed, all the operations, and all the parameters. So this is a very interesting feature for web service. So you can also import information. So let's say you have development teams and they want to send you a Swagger files or a Google sitemap, or you can also use access log. You will need to be able to set up the sitemap based on this information. You have also a learning mode that can be used in order to use the logs and to build your sitemap. Here you can also define what we call a JSON SIM. It's just like an XML one, and you can be using this specific SIM inside your sitemap. So now I think we're ready for a live demo. Okay, so now I will try to connect on a web application, which is Firewall web application. And here you can see that I have several attack vectors that I can try to use. So if, for instance, I go to command injection here, I see that I have a specific display field where I can just use an IP address. So this will allow me to try a ping command. So let's say I want to try to ping myself with the loopback address. So I will just type in this specific address. I will try to click on submit right now. When I do this, I can see that I have an error page. So you can read your behavior becomes deviant. So this is not a normal behavior because my request was quite legitimate, actually. So here, clearly, we are dealing with a false positive. So you can see in this page that I have an identifier. I can just take it and copy paste. So now I will connect to RSWAF, and I will go to the alert and reporting section. And here I can find my log. So I will just double click it. As seen earlier on the right, I have the part of the payload which matches the security engine. If I click on the left here, I have more information related to the attack. And I can see here in the parts value match that my security engine is matching cmdi.php page. So my request is considered as path traversal. Okay. So now I will show you the replay alert feature. So if I try to click on replay alert, just right here, then I click on OK, I can find my alert again, and I can see here that it's not accepted normal. This is a normal thing. I didn't do anything until now. So let's try to create a false positive. So I will click on resolve alerts here. I will select the specific event I want to create, and then OK. I can see that I have a success message and that my exception is now created. So now let's click replay alerts again and see what's happening. We can see that this time my alert is accepted. So if I double click on it, I have the details just right here, and I can see that the payload is now in green and not in red. So basically, this is how you can very easily create a false positive exception. Now, let's switch on another example. So I will go back to my web application, and this time I will go to web service. I have a specific section related to REST web service, so let's try to click on it. Here I can see that I can do a search. So here, let's say that I have a specific wine store, for example. So if I type a B in this section and I tap search, I can see that I have several wines. So block 9, for example. Now, let's say I want to create a new wine. So let's click on it. I can see that I have a few fields to fill in. So I would put a name. Just for the demo, I will put test in the name. So for the grapes, let's use test again. For the country again, the region. And finally, the year. Here I have to specify a real year. So let's use, for example, this one. Okay. So now I will try to save my wine. When I do this, I can see at the top that my wine has been properly added. So if I try to do a search for tests, I can find it just as described before. But you can see here in the notes that I didn't specify anything, which can be inconvenient from a developer perspective. So let's say now I am a developer and I want to change this and make sure that the specific field is mandatory. So how I will do it? So first of all, you can see that I have a specific link here where I can access the WAF through an API. So let's click on it. You can see here the configuration. So let's have a look at the Swagger files that I can use to describe my application. So if I look at the bad Swagger file, I will try to open it in a new tab. I can see the description of my application. If I'm looking for required to see all the mandatory attributes, I can see that I have name, I have grapes, country, region, year, but I don't have the description field. So if I want to change this as a developer, I can update my Swagger files. So now I will look to the good Swagger files. It's exactly the same, and you can see that I can find the required attributes, the description as well. Okay? So in the graphical user interface, everything related to the specific application can be found under sitemap, just right here. I have a specific sitemap describing my application. And if I look at the several methods, I can see get and post, for example. I can see also in the definitions part 2 requests that can be used, and in my case it will be add wine request. So if I try to modify it, I can see here that I have my bad file as description is not a mandatory attribute. So let's change this through the API. I go back on my application. First of all, I will connect through the API. So I will click on connect just right here. I can see that my user is connected. Now, through the API, I will try to get the list of all the sitemaps. I can find them just right here. So I will click on the appropriate one, which is the one in the middle. Now, I will download my good Swagger file. I will put it on my desktop, for example. And once I download it, I will try to browse it through my API. So let's select this specific configuration file. I can now click on import. I can see that I have an import success. And finally, I will try to apply my configuration with this button. The apply is in progress. So now let's go back on the application, on the graphical user interface. I will close this one and go back on my specific sitemap. So as usual, I have my specific attributes, and now if I look to definition, I can see here in the required attribute that the description field is now present. So now I will go back on my initial application and I will try to add a new wine. So I will click the new wine button. I will try to put test 2. Sorry for that, I'm not very original. So let's put test 2. And now I will put the same here as well. I click on save, and you can see that now I have an add wine error just right here because I didn't specify any nuts information. So let's try again. I will put test 2 just like before. And this time I will try to specify any information. So I will type best wine ever, for example. Now I try to save it, and I can see here that my wine has been properly added. Okay, so if I click on it, I have all my information. By the way, if I go back on my interface, graphical interface, you can see at the top that I have 2 connected users. This is basically the multi-admin feature. So if I click on it, I can see that I have my API and my traditional admin user accounts. So that's all for me.
So just to sum up, RNS Web Application Firewall 6.5 is a single platform for all customers to migrate to. It extends the period of software maintenance to at least 3 years for existing customers, and it offers numerous enhancements focusing on key customer needs, which we have identified to be usability and security. And this is done via enhanced monitoring capabilities, better management of false positives, and much deeper API security. So thank you for attending today's recording. We hope you've enjoyed it and it's been useful. Here are next steps. If you want to learn more about the product, you can read our press release with the link just here. Consult the release notes with more technical information, or visit the product pages on our website. You can also download the product and try it, either from our former denial product site, or on the marketplace in Amazon, and it will soon be published on Azure as well. So you have 2 versions of Amazon: buy your own license or pay as you go, both available for download immediately from the Amazon marketplace. Thank you. And do not hesitate to send us your questions by email, and we hope to hear from you or see you in one of our future webinars. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you and goodbye, guys.